Okay. So the structure of my presentation is revolving around key topics such as data velocity, data is the new oil, how do you use the data for automation, and what is the workflow methodology which you're going to use, and how do we make sure that we are on the right track by using POCs and prototyping for quick wins, and how do you scale across, and how do you measure success and failures. That is the key thing. So I think the main topic, we need, before we deep dive into the real topic, we need to understand what is data velocity. So if you look at the data velocity part, right, so last 2 years, 90% of the data has been captured in last 2 years itself. So basically, what has changed in last 2 years? Is the technology evolved last 2 years, or it is the need of humans to store the data has changed? If you look at the Harvard or Cambridge and other universities who have published the papers, the reason why in last 2 years the hunger for data has gone tremendous is all about, one of the key reasons is pandemic, where everything has gone virtual, digital. At the same time, there has been a key focus that the conventional way of businesses will no longer exist. So just give you an example of financial industry. Previously, relationship managers used to have a personal contact. They used to have every day a lot of meetings, catch ups on coffee, meetings. But now it is not happening. Last 1.5 years, it is almost impossible to have personal meetings. There are restrictions, social distancing, and all those things. So everything is going digital. You have to have a video calls. You have to have digital way of communicating. So and if you want to understand how the business are evolving, you need to understand the patterns, trends, and this is only possible when you capture the data. So this is the key reason why there is a huge need for capturing the data. So if you look at the data velocity part in this slide, you have big data which is expanding on variety, volume, and velocity. So you have a lot of data to manage with. Now, why this how this data is captured, or how this data is so huge. To appreciate this whole concept, or to appreciate the whole dynamics about it, let's deep dive into the one internet minute of data. So in 60 seconds, just 60 seconds, how much data is being generated in this universe or in this world, right? So if you see, like, in Google itself, there are 2 million searches is happening in 60 seconds, and all those searches are being stored. You have 15,000 downloads from iTunes. You have 571 new websites getting created. You have petabytes of data which is getting created in Facebook. You have 11,000 searches in LinkedIn in just 60 seconds. You have 204 million emails sent in 60 seconds. So the imagine the amount of data is getting captured in this. So now, when you capture, or when we capture, or when everybody in this world is appreciating that the data capture is so much, it creates a big problem. What should we do with data, and how do we leverage on data, and how do we automate this data, or how do we make benefit out of data using automation, machine learning, and artificial intelligence? There is a $1 million question which everybody is trying to solve. The answer lies down into that you need to generate hypothesis using your data. So basically, when I say generating hypothesis, it's all about what you want to achieve with this data, and how do you want to make data driven decisions in making your business. For example, if there is an organization who is doing into medical supplies, now, using the medical supplies, and you have a lot of data because of your medical supplies, with this data you can actually create a hypothesis how we can diversify with our data. Medical supplies, should we go and collaborate with insurance companies so that we can actually tap into the to the customers which need our medical supplies. So this is a kind of diversification, but this is only possible when you analyze your data, when you create hypothesis from your data, when you try to understand, correlate the data points, when you try to unreveal this whole structure of the data. So if you look at the data driven decisions, you actually need to understand What are your objectives? How do you gather data? How do you analyze? How do you resolve unresolved questions? How do you find the right questions for the data? How do you revisit and reevaluate the question? How do you present the data? So all those key questions, if you answer from a generating from hypothesis perspective, that means you are on the right track. And data is useless if you can't tell a story out of data. So the next point which I wanted to tell is that how do you tell story out of your data? So when I say data story or data storytelling is a methodology for communicating information which is tailored to a specific audience with a compelling narrative. So when I say data storytelling, for example, if I want to tell a story to my CEO that, okay, if we develop this product or if we add these new features in our product, this is the way we can see 20% increase in our sale. So this is a story, and this story has to be actually promoted or kind of validated with data points, and it has to be proved scientifically as well that, okay, why this feature will create 20% revenue for the organization. This is because based on the surveys, customers are looking for those features. Because of those features not present in our product, customers are going to our competitors. So all those data points will allow us to tell your story and compel your narrative so that you can actually get the blessings from your senior management to move ahead. So how do you tell the stories, or what are the key aspects of your story? So basically, whenever you want to generate an hypothesis or tell a story, then you have to answer three questions which you need to address in order to make a effective data storytelling. It's why, what, and how. Why I'm telling this? What is the fundamental reason behind it? And what I'm going to tell, how will I make it as a compelling narrative out of it, and how will I prove it? What is a mechanism to prove it? So if you look at the data stories, after you collecting the data, then you have data, you have narrative, you have effective visualization, and in the core of the middle, this is where when these 3 points intersect, data plus visual and narrative, then it converts into a data storytelling. And if you see, data storytelling is not for the entire audience, it is for the targeted audience. So for example, if I want to highlight, by adding a new feature in this product, I can achieve 20% return on investment upfront. That story is for my senior management, not for my for others or for any other people. It has to be for the people who will make the decision. So now, the approach of storytelling, how do we do this? Tell the stories. We accelerate decisions using story. We create stories and generate actionable insights. We make sure those stories are converted into a UI experience, UX design, so that people can elaborate. You cannot go to them to people and just say that, okay, hey, I want to do that. You need to have um, in a methodology or visualization dashboards data presentation layer which will allow you to connect those data points and get the concept out of it. And user adoption is all about how to make sure that the people will buy into your user stories. So just a sample visualization, how do you tell the story, right? For example, this is something which in this sample visualization, we are telling, okay, how our product revenue is diversified, what is the revenue by vertical, what is the new sales, what are the customer by countries, how the customer upsell is happening, how many customer reported the bugs, how many active accounts by week, what are beta customers. If you look at this whole customer landscape, the profile, when you present this data points in this format, meaningful insights can be immediately generated. So you can actually generate some meaningful insights and make this whole process more seamless, and at the same time it will be more meaningful for all the people to understand that, okay, how the visualization works behind the data. And you please uh, I think the key appreciation here is this whole visualization is sitting on tons of data, or on petabytes of data, or maybe millions of rows, which is actually aggregated in such a nicer way so that people can appreciate the data itself. So, coming back to data and automation, now we have understood the power of data. We have understood data velocity. We have understood user experience. We have understood data is useless if we can't generate stories out of it. We can't generate hypotheses out of it. We can't generate meaningful visualization out of it. Now it's all about automation. How do you automate the workflows, and how do you what is the key workflow methodology you want to do in order to make sure. So basically, the fundamental and the oversimplified user experience and the workflow is, first of all, you need to understand the task you want to automate, or what kind of automation you want to do. So from the task, and what kind of decisions, and what kind of content, and the you want to capture. So if you look from in this slide, what it needs to be done is that you need to understand what data points you need to capture, what is the content from that data you need to drive, and what are the key metrics, what are the key decisions you want to drive it. From capturing to content to decision, there has to be some kind of step or a workflow in order to generate. For example, if I want to calculate a formula, I need few variables, I need values in those variables, and then I need to uh, do some steps or do workflow to come out to the exact output of it. So once you have documented that, once you have that steps, then you can actually think about how to automate. Is that okay? How do you do the automation to capture the data? How do you massage, or how do you data cleansing on the content? How do you make the decisions? How do you automate the workflow, and how do you do the task? And this is actually a continuous exercise. And if you see, modeling and governance are the two pillars which are on at the extreme. The governance is required because you are dealing with data. When you are dealing with data, you are actually are dealing with some sensitive data, privacy related issues. So you need to have a governance. So the quality of the data is important, the governance is important, the privacy is important, the sourcing is important. So all those factors are very important. That's why you need to make sure that the governance is also there. And then you also leverage on analytics and machine learning and AI to actually get into the bottom of it. Is your workflow working as per the expectation? Is there are some errors coming out? Do we need to do a fine tuning? Do we need to actually understand in depth how the data is correlating? So all those things, analytics comes into picture. And then at the end of the day, it is all about unified experience. Whatever we do, whatever we produce, it has to be it has to be for the customers, and the customers should have a good experience so that they can use it. So this is the way the workflow automation and methodology works in. Now, how do you actually assign a quick win? How do you actually identify that you are on the right track? How do you identify the steps which you are proposing will give you a winning results? So there are two things which I utilize in my day to day life, or in my projects, is POCs and prototyping, right? So basically, these are the two key things which allows us to present the concept into a live environment. Like, people say that, hey, I can build a car which will run, which can accelerate in 0 to 3 seconds in 100 kilometers, right? But at the same time, people will not buy it until they see it. But they don't need to see the full-fledged car. They can still see a very basic car which has only one seat, and a very basic structure, not a very. But at the same time, if you show that, okay, the basic structure of the car has that acceleration, that power, the engine has so much capability to run in 0 to 3 to 100 kilometers, right? Then they know that this car can move to the next level, and it can be built as a full-fledged car. This is all about prototyping, but a lot of prototypings in the agile methodologies do fail. The reason is because there are simple steps which we should always take care of while defining or creating a prototyping. Is we need to be very specific on the objectives. Rome was not built on one day, but at the same time, in prototyping, that is the concept. We are not trying to build the Rome in one day. What we are trying to tell is we can build the Rome, but we need more time. But at the same time, we need to just demonstrate the capability that we can build it. That is the key difference between a prototype and full-fledged project. So I think defining the objective and a achievable objective is most important thing. And then we need to define the functionality, that what functionality will demonstrate. There are functionality which is must have, there are functionalities good to have, there are functionalities which are nice to have. Functionality in prototyping should only demonstrate must have. Good have and nice to have is not the should not be part of the scope of prototyping. Then you should develop the prototyping and you should evaluate the prototyping as well. That and evaluation has to be a continuous evaluation with objectives and functionality. So once you evaluate and you are comfortable with the evaluation report, then you should give us demo to your stakeholders so that you can get the blessings out of it. Now, how do you scale across? This is one of the things which I always tell to my team and the people whom I work with, right? You should always think of a Airbus or Boeing, but you should also think that you will start with a paper plane. And if you look in the history, all the major inventions didn't happen. It took iterations to happen, right? So basically, we start with the paper plane. We make sure that the paper plane can fly. Once we understand the concept of it, then we aim for the Airbus or Boeing. That's the whole idea, that how do you scale across. And there are three key things which we should always make sure that we follow or keep a track on it. Is that how approach and methodology, how you want to scale across. For example, in my current projects and previous projects as well, I'm responsible for 150 countries globally, because I'm the global director for the program which I'm running. So in 150 countries, to roll out at a straight away, it's going to be a big task, and at the same time, it can backfire as well. So I always use a subset approach, in the sense, like, I will take low risk first two or three or four or five countries. The rollout will happen, and the rollout will have some failures, lessons learned. And after that, from 5 to 10, 10 to 20, and then 20 to 50, and 50 to 100, or 150. So this scale out, this approach gives me an opportunity to continuously evolve and learn lessons, and then don't repeat the mistake, and repeat the success stories. And the approach is also the similar thing, that okay, are we taking a big bang approach, or are we taking a step by step approach? And the methodology is also tightly coupled with the approach, that how what kind of methodology we will take, how we'll validate, how will we evaluate the success, what are the key metrics. So this is all about scaling across. And then one of the things which I always focus, whether you are doing the process automation, workflow automation, data analytics, or data automation, measuring success is one of the things. What we do is, we are so passionate about delivering, we forget about measuring success. And at the same time, I always tell to my team is that the failure is the biggest learning. And when the failure is there, that is one of the things which you can take as a blessing, that okay, because of the failure only you can evolve. Success is good, you can appreciate it, but at the same time, if you don't treasure your failures, that means you are not challenging yourself, and you are not up for next challenge, or you don't want to evolve. So basically, never be scared of failures. You should always measure success. And if your customers are critics, or if your customers are giving you negative or whatever the feedback which is not as per aligned with the project objective, take that feedback. And it is all about measuring the success, how much successful you were, 10%, 20%, 80%, whatever the criteria is. But at the same time, if it is not the first time, the second time you will be successful. And it's all about continuous feedback and improvement. Don't be scared of angry faces. You have If the angry faces are there, if the approach is good, the angry faces will soon become as a smiling faces. So I think continuous improvement will only come when you take the feedback, consolidate the feedback, measure the success of your process automation from this, and that's the whole idea of continuously improvement and taking the feedback. So I'll take a pause here, and we'll open for the questions.